I believe it was if you could pick a body part that you feel like you treat the best.
Your favorite? What's your favorite body part?
It wasn't quite that question yet. We'll get there.
To treat. Favorite body part to treat. Just to be specific.
Yeah, that could be quite different.
Not just in general.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to the clinician.
Sometimes they're the same.
but yeah, well, that goes to the clinician that says, well, like, I'm pretty good at shoulders, but I don't really know what to do with the back. Yeah. You know, you look at this part of the body as if it's separate, as if it's like this segment you can strip away. And I think, I'm going to say right now, my favorite thing to treat is the nervous system. I think that's it. And you know, when we're treating the system, I guess you could also say I like treating the blood system as well. Because when we think about oxygen, blood, mitochondria, and then sympathetic and parasympathetic, what else is there?
The problem is you can't do anything in isolation. Yeah. The problem is you can't do anything in isolation. Your point is great. Aaron thinks you're right. Your point is good. You can't do anything in isolation. We can't touch somebody's shoulder without going through their nervous system first. There's so many other components. And to your point about the back, like if we have a good understanding of the shoulder but not the T-spine, then I would argue we really don't have a good understanding of the shoulder. So the kinetic chain and the connectedness is.
You might start with like a body part that you like to treat the most because maybe that's the one you're most comfortable with. Like you said, you feel the most. Myself and yourself, we feel the most comfortable talking to a baseball player, but we're leaving a lot out there on the table to not be influenced. Like if you really want to be an influencer in the place that you're at and serve a greater community, you've got to be great at everything.
And the shoulder problem, the shoulder pain might really be a foot problem, right? If it's the baseball player you're talking about, when they get to foot plant on their lead leg, maybe there's an instability piece there, and maybe that force is now being directed somewhere else, and it's shoulder pain, and when they could be absorbing it somewhere else. So it's that's a complicated question, I think.
Yeah, certainly a question that I can't answer. That's for sure. I mean, I think to that point, we made the comparison earlier about people all the time talk about sports med and PT as like a movement mechanic or a body mechanic, like a car mechanic. And if you were to ask a NASCAR head mechanic, what's your favorite part on the car to fix, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. Every piece matters because when we're looking at the vehicle to perform and go as fast as possible for as long as possible, I can't look at one thing, right? And I think the same thing's true with the body, is that we have to look at this thing as a system, and that's what makes it fun. Frankly, that's the fun part. Is like, I'm at a point where most body parts in isolation is relatively straightforward. Is it a movement dysfunction? Is it like, are they stiff? Is there a lack of mobility? Like, we can get that back through certain techniques. That's relatively simple. And maybe there's some weakness. We could build that back up with some pretty sequential strategic work that we can do. But then how do you really integrate that back into the whole system is really always my question. How do we link it back to the kinetic chain so that it becomes part of the person's natural movement? Because that's what's going to prevent the injury from coming back. And that's what's going to make them take it to their next level of function and have true success in their life or true health.
I mean, what that speaks to is really to influence that. You're influencing their mind and their mindset. And that the top of the nervous system is the brain. And we talk a lot about lifestyle factors that really kind of move the needle from a healing and regenerative standpoint, but also your tolerance in your mind, your tolerance in whether it's your tolerance for pain or an understanding that pain's okay. It's just telling you something's on the mend, leave it the fuck alone, and I think helping that both that education as well as that coaching mindset and the motivation and that connection, that gets really fun. Once we kind of get past the shoulder and really kind of dive into what makes you tick, where are we going with this journey, that's what this spice is all about. And I think that's what drives me. Now, I don't think I'll ever have burnout actually in patient care. I mean, truly, we've been at this for well over a decade. And if I wanted to, and if it was good for the company, I would treat, 16 people a day, every day, just having fun, influencing people. Right?
We all feel
absolutely.
That.
Yes, we all feel that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think comes through here more loud and clear than anything, is that, you have that internal passion to help somebody. I think it was said almost every time, is like, we don't want somebody else to go through that experience that we had that was less than ideal. Let's just say, maybe it could have been better. Right? We all see the opportunity that could have been better. That's what drives us every day at KIME, is like, how can we make it better so that our clients and our customers can have this experience and get back to whatever it is that they love. And this identity piece is massive. We talked about that as well tonight, and I think that's so huge and often can be overlooked when the person comes in on that first day after an ACL or after a shoulder dislocation or with a back injury, and they're hurting, and that's obviously part of it, but they're also hurting emotionally because to make it dramatic, like think about, especially a high school athlete, I think is really, really critical here. And we tend to like, oh, they're young, they'll heal, it's fine. But if you think about a high school athlete, like when I was in high school, like people say, well, you know, who are you? Be like, I'm a basketball player, right? Who are you? I'm a baseball player, or I play football, or I'm a martial artist. You identify who you are by what it is that you do. And then to take that, have that taken from you, usually not by your own choice, now all of a sudden you can't play for maybe a short period of time, maybe a long period of time, then the question starts to become like, when your friends ask you, like, hey, what do you do? Or who are you? Like, what are you all about? And be like, am I really a football player still? Because I can't run the way that I used to run. I can't cut the way I used to cut, you know?
And it's short-sighted of us to think of this as just an athlete, right? Like, it's probably even more real when you talk about a parent that can no longer pick their kid up because their back hurts, right? That's even more like basic life stuff. It's not just not playing their sport. It's they can't take care of their kid, which, as Aaron can tell you firsthand, there's like physiologic stuff in his body driving him to take care of that kid. Stuff he's not in control of. Right. So, I mean, but yeah, I think it can get even more real, and we'd be short-sighted to say it's just athlete, but I think everybody has that driving force. And